I still remember the sound, that tiny buzz from my phone at 6:47 a.m., soft, almost harmless. I thought it was a work email, but it was him. Don't wait for me tonight, or ever again. Just 8 words. 8 words that tore through 10 years of marriage. At first I thought it was a joke. I even smiled, that foolish kind of smile you give before your world burns down. Then I noticed the photo attached. A hotel room, a woman's hand, his watch on the nightstand. My breath caught in my throat. He didn't even hide it anymore. For a few seconds I stood frozen in the kitchen. The smell of burnt toast filled the air. Our wedding photo hung above the counter, both of us laughing, covered in flour from baking cookies that first year. Now, even that memory felt like a cruel lie. When I finally managed to type, my hands were trembling. "Are you serious?" he replied instantly. "Yes, I've made up my mind, don't make this harder." That was it. No apology, no explanation, just finality, like closing a door without looking back. I felt something inside me collapse. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was humiliation. The night before he'd told me he was working late. Now I knew what kind of work he meant. I sat down on the cold tile floor, knees pulled to my chest, phone clutched in my hand like it could still give me answers. The house was too quiet. Even the clock seemed to tick slower, mocking me. I should have cried, but I didn't. I just stared at his message, reading it over and over until the words lost meaning. Then something shifted inside me, small, sharp, like glass breaking. I opened my laptop, typed divorce papers template. And as the document loaded, I whispered to myself, "If that's what you want, then you'll get it." My fingers moved faster than my thoughts. Name, date, signature, done. It wasn't about revenge, not yet. It was about taking back control, one click at a time. Before sending, I hesitated. Then I saw the reflection of myself on the dark screen, eyes red, face pale, but still there. Still me. So I attached the file and sent it straight to his email with one line, "You've already left, this just makes it official." 5 minutes later, he saw it. Read receipt confirmed. No reply. But something unexpected happened. A new email popped up, not from him, it was from a private number. The subject line read, "You deserve to know the truth. My name is Lauren. I'm 38 years old, and until last week, I thought I was living the kind of life I used to dream about." We lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Chicago. A white 2-story house, blue shutters, and a front yard filled with roses I planted myself. Every morning, I brewed coffee for both of us, packed his lunch, and watched him drive away in that same silver car I helped him pick 5 years ago. I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable. I taught art at the community center. Kids loved me, especially when I let them paint with their hands. He used to drop by sometimes, bringing donuts for the class, kissing my forehead in front of everyone. People called us the perfect couple. But perfect never lasts. Sometimes, you don't even notice the cracks until everything breaks at once. He started staying late at work about a year ago. At first, I believed him. I always believed him. He said he was trying to earn a promotion, and I wanted to be supportive. I was raised to be loyal, patient, understanding. My mother used to tell me, a good wife stands behind her husband. I stood behind him until he walked so far ahead that I couldn't see him anymore. Looking back now, I can see the signs. The perfume I didn't own on his jacket. The late-night messages he'd quickly hide. The way he stopped asking about my day. I asked once if something was wrong. He smiled. That polite, distant kind of smile that says, "Don't ask again." So I stopped asking. That was my mistake. The night before he sent that message, I cooked his favorite dinner. Lemon chicken with roasted potatoes. He came home late, smelling like expensive wine. He said he was tired and went straight to bed. I kissed his shoulder and whispered, "Good night." He didn't say it back. If I had known that was the last night we'd sleep under the same roof, I would have done everything differently. Or maybe I wouldn't have done anything at all, because somewhere deep down, I think I already knew. A woman always knows, she just doesn't want to believe it. When that email came from the private address the next morning, my heart was still raw. I thought it might be a scam, but something about the subject line, "You deserve to know the truth," made me open it. Inside was only one sentence. He wasn't working late, he was working with her. Attached was a photo. Not the one he'd sent, but another, older. Him and the same woman, standing outside a conference hall, arms around each other like lovers. The timestamp was from 6 months ago. 6 months. That meant he'd been lying to me for half a year while I was still ironing his shirts and wishing him good luck every morning. I didn't cry this time. Instead, I felt a strange calm settle over me, the kind that comes before a storm. If there was one thing I knew now, it was this. He didn't just betray me once. He'd built a life of lies right under my roof. And someone out there, whoever sent that email, wanted me to uncover it all. 3 days after the message, I still hadn't heard a single word from him. The house felt emptier than ever. Too big, too quiet, too cold. But the email from that anonymous sender wouldn't leave my mind. Whoever they were, they knew something I didn't. That afternoon, while scrolling through social media, I saw a post from his company's page. A photo of a ballroom decorated in gold lights, captioned, "Annual Corporate Gala, Celebrating Leadership and Innovation." The event was happening that night, and he was tagged in it. For 10 years I had attended every one of those galas beside him, standing there as the proud, smiling wife. But this time, my name wasn't on the guest list. Still, I knew I had to go. Something in my gut told me the answers were there. I pulled out the black dress I hadn't worn since our 5th anniversary. It still fit, though the woman wearing it felt entirely different now. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone quieter, colder, but steadier. A woman who had nothing left to lose. At the hotel ballroom, laughter filled the air. Glasses clinked, cameras flashed, and people moved like they were part of some glittering play. He stood near the stage, suit perfectly tailored, smile perfectly fake. And next to him, the woman from the photo. She wore a red gown that screamed confidence and danger. I felt my stomach twist. She was younger than me. Maybe 30, maybe less. Her hand rested casually on his arm, like she belonged there. They looked at each other the way lovers do when they think no one is watching. Except I was. I stayed in the shadows, unnoticed, watching their perfect little act unfold. The CEO stepped on stage and started his speech, praising dedication and loyalty. Irony burned my throat. Then came the award presentation. Employee of the Year, the announcer said, goes to him for his outstanding commitment. The crowd erupted in applause. He kissed the woman's cheek before walking to the stage. Not me. Her. It felt like someone ripped open an old wound that had barely begun to close. For a moment, I wanted to run. But then I remembered that email. You deserve to know the truth. And I realized the truth wasn't just about betrayal. It was about exposure. When the lights dimmed for the final speech, I slipped backstage. Security guards were distracted, and I knew the layout from years of attending. In the dressing area behind the curtains, I found something on the vanity, a silver clutch bag. It wasn't mine. It was hers. Inside, I found 2 phones, one with her name on the lock screen. The other, my husband's name. Identical models, same wallpaper. A photo of them together at a lake house I didn't recognize. My hands trembled, but I took photos of everything. If he wanted to erase me, he was going to regret it. I slipped out quietly, just as the event ended. The cold night air hit my face, sharp and clean. For the first time in days, I felt a strange clarity. He thought he'd humiliated me by leaving. But tonight, I had proof. And proof was power. What I didn't know yet was that the person who sent that email had planned for me to find all of this. And they were about to reach out again. The next morning, I couldn't stop replaying everything I'd seen at that gala. The red dress, the kiss, the 2 phones. It was all too real, too deliberate, like a performance meant to humiliate me. I barely slept. By dawn, I was sitting at my kitchen table, phone in hand, scrolling through the photos I'd taken. There was a number saved on one of the screens, private client. The same phrase that appeared in the mysterious email I'd received. I dialed it. The line rang twice before a woman's voice answered. Calm. Smooth. Confident. You found them, didn't you? She said. I froze. Who is this? Someone who's tired of watching you being played, she replied. Then the line went dead. I tried to call back, but it went straight to voicemail. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about an affair. There was something bigger. Later that afternoon, I decided to visit his office. I knew the receptionist had brought her cupcakes every Christmas. She looked at me with pity when I walked in. Lauren, she whispered, you shouldn't be here. I forced a smile. I just need to drop off something for him. She hesitated, then nodded. I made my way toward his glass-walled office, but he wasn't alone. Through the transparent door, I saw her. The woman in red. She was sitting at his desk, leaning over some documents like she owned the place. Her hair perfectly styled, her heels on my husband's side of the desk. He was smiling, that same fake, charming smile I used to love. I pushed the door open before I could stop myself. They both looked up. "Lauren," he said, voice tight. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I replied, holding up the photos on my phone. Her eyes flicked to them, no fear, just amusement. "You went through my things," she said slowly, her tone dripping with superiority. I stepped closer. "Your things? Funny, last I checked, one of those phones had his name on it." She laughed. "He gave it to me. Everything he had, including that house you still live in, will be mine soon enough." That was the moment I saw it clearly. She wasn't just a fling, she was after everything, his career, his reputation, his money, and he was letting her. He stood up, his face pale. "Lauren, please, don't do this here." "Why not?" I snapped. "You already did everything else in public." Her smile widened. "You're embarrassing yourself." Maybe I was, but for the first time I didn't care. Because as I turned to leave, I noticed a document on the desk. A property transfer agreement. His signature was already on it. He was signing over the lake house from the photo, to her. That was my final confirmation. It wasn't just love he'd traded, it was loyalty, dignity, everything we'd built. I walked out of that office with shaking hands but a steady heart. Behind me, I could hear her laugh, low, triumphant, venomous. When I got to the car, I opened my phone again. A new message had arrived. No sender name? Just a sentence. "She's not who she says she is." 2 days after that confrontation, his company held a charity luncheon at the downtown hotel. It was the same venue as the gala, the same chandeliers, the same scent of roses and champagne. Only this time, I wasn't sneaking in. I was invited. An email from the event organizer arrived that morning saying my presence was requested for acknowledgement of past contributions. I didn't understand why, but something told me to go. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I just wanted to look him in the eyes one last time. When I arrived, the lobby was full of familiar faces, board members, clients, reporters. Flashbulbs went off as the company's top executives posed for pictures, and there he was again, beside her. The woman in red. She looked different this time, softer, polished, wearing a white suit that screamed new power. People surrounded her, congratulating, admiring. Someone whispered near me, "That's his fiancée. They're announcing it today." The word fiancée hit me like a slap. We weren't even divorced yet. Before I could move, an assistant came up and said, "Mrs. Collins, please follow me." I almost corrected her. It was still Mrs. for now, but I followed anyway. The assistant led me to a front row table near the stage. I felt eyes on me. Some recognized me, some just sensed the tension. When he saw me, he froze. But the woman beside him leaned close and whispered something that made him nod and smile. The host took the microphone. "Today, we not only celebrate our success," she announced, "but also the people who built this company's foundation." A slideshow started, pictures of the company's history. And suddenly, there I was, photo after photo, me and him at past galas, events, volunteering, standing side by side. I almost smiled until the next image appeared. A new photo, him and the woman in red, laughing, holding hands, labeled "The Future of Collins Enterprises." The room erupted in applause. The host continued, "And we're thrilled to announce that our CEO and his partner are engaged to be married this fall." I felt my chest tighten, my ears rang. People turned toward me, some whispering, some pitying, some just staring. She reached for the microphone, smiling sweetly. "Lauren," she said, "I hope you'll wish us happiness. You've always been part of his journey." The crowd laughed awkwardly. I stood up slowly, trying to breathe. "I wish you both exactly what you deserve," I said, my voice trembling but steady enough to cut through the noise. He looked furious, she looked thrilled. It was exactly what she wanted, a public victory, a spectacle. Before I left, I turned toward him and said quietly, "You forgot to sign one last thing, the papers that make you free." Then I walked out. The cameras followed, the murmurs chasing behind me like knives. Outside, the cold air hit my face. For a moment I almost collapsed, but my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown sender. This time there was a photo attached. It showed the woman in red in a different place, an office with a man I didn't recognize. The caption read, "He's not her first." And for the first time, I realized this wasn't over. It was just beginning. For days after the charity luncheon, the world turned gray. I barely opened the curtains. The air inside the house felt thick, full of dust, regret, and silence. I tried to eat, but everything tasted like metal. Sleep wouldn't come either. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces on that stage, smiling as if I'd never existed. The TV kept replaying the news clip. CEO announces engagement. I watched it once, then unplugged the screen. It was like watching my own funeral. I used to think heartbreak was loud, screaming, crying, breaking things, but it wasn't. It was quiet. It was sitting alone at 3 a.m., with the sound of the refrigerator humming and realizing no one would ever walk through that door again. By the fourth night, I thought I was losing my mind. My phone buzzed every few hours with messages from friends I didn't want to answer, and my mother's voice on repeat. You can't let them win, Lauren. But what if they already had? One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. Pale skin. Red eyes. Hair tangled like it had forgotten how to shine. I whispered, "You used to fight for others. Why not for yourself?" That question hit harder than any insult they'd ever thrown at me. I turned on my laptop again, opened the folder with all the photos, the gala, the office, the phones. Every image looked like evidence from a crime scene, and maybe that's what it was, a crime against trust. Then I saw it, the picture from the mysterious message. Her, with another man, in front of a logo. I zoomed in. It wasn't his company. It was a different one, a finance firm that had been shut down 2 years ago after a scandal. I searched the name. There she was, in an article. Assistant implicated in financial misconduct. Same woman, different man, different life destroyed. It hit me like lightning. She'd done this before, and my husband was just her newest target, or maybe her partner. The anger came fast, not wild, but clean. It burned through the fog like sunlight, breaking through storm clouds. I grabbed a notebook and started writing everything I knew. Names, dates, amounts, places. Then I printed the articles, pinned them to the wall. The living room filled with papers, red ink and string lines connecting every clue. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't crying. I was planning. I made coffee, strong and bitter, and watched the sunrise paint the sky gold. Something inside me shifted. The same fire that used to keep me alive was back. Smaller, but steady. Then my phone buzzed again. No name. Just one line. If you want to see what she's hiding next, come to the lake house. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. I stared at the message, my pulse quickening. The lake house, the one he signed over to her. The same one from their photo. Fear whispered that it was a trap, but curiosity, or maybe courage, whispered louder. So I packed a small bag, printed a copy of every document, and whispered to myself, this time, I'm not the victim. And for the first time since he left, I finally felt alive again. The road to the lake house was darker than I remembered. Tall pine trees lined both sides, and the wind carried a strange stillness, like the world was holding its breath. I hadn't been there in years. It used to be our place. He'd bought it after our 3rd anniversary, saying it was where we'd grow old together. Now it belonged to her. When I arrived, the driveway was empty. The house looked exactly the same. White walls, blue shutters, the porch light flickering like a heartbeat. I hesitated at the door, wondering if this was a mistake, but something inside me whispered, keep going. The door wasn't locked. Inside, the air smelled like lavender and expensive wine. 2 glasses sat on the table, one half full, one with lipstick stains. I wasn't alone. Then I heard a sound, footsteps upstairs. I followed slowly, my pulse pounding in my throat. The master bedroom door was half open, and light spilled across the hallway floor. I pushed it gently. She was there. The woman in red. But she wasn't wearing red tonight. She was in black, sitting by the window, staring out at the lake like she'd been waiting for me. I was wondering when you'd show up, she said without turning around. My voice came out rough. You sent the message? She smiled faintly. I told you, you deserve to know the truth. I stepped closer. What truth? She finally looked at me. Her eyes were tired, softer than before. He's not who you think he is. I frowned. You mean he's a liar? I already know that. She shook her head. No, you don't know half of it. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. Inside were documents. Bank statements, contracts, offshore accounts, all under his name. What is this? I whispered. Proof. she said quietly. He's been laundering money through his company for years. I helped him until he turned on me. I stared at her, stunned. You expect me to believe that? Believe what you want, she replied. But the man you think betrayed you didn't just betray you. He betrayed everyone, and now he's trying to pin it all on me. My mind raced. The photo, the messages, the house, it all began to fit together in a way that made my stomach twist. She stood up, walking toward me. I used to love him, she said, her voice trembling slightly. But love turns ugly when money gets involved. Then why tell me? I asked. Why help me? Because you're the only one he won't suspect, she said. And because if I go down, I'm taking him with me, but I need you to see what he really is first. Before I could reply, a car engine roared outside. Headlights flashed through the window. She froze. He's here, she whispered. Panic surged through me. I turned toward the stairs, but before I could move, she grabbed my arm. If he asks, you never saw me, she said, and take this. She shoved the folder into my hands. Then she slipped out through the back door just as the front door burst open. He stepped inside, his voice echoing through the hall. Lauren, what are you doing here? I clutched the folder to my chest, trying to steady my breathing. The sound of his footsteps grew closer. When he reached the bedroom door, he smiled. That same perfect, empty smile I'd once loved. I knew you'd come back, he said softly, but you shouldn't have. And for the first time, I saw it. The darkness in his eyes. He wasn't just a cheating husband. He was something much worse. He stood in the doorway, calm but dangerous, like a man who'd already planned every move. The same man who used to hold my hand when I was scared, now looking at me as if I was the threat. I asked you a question, he said quietly. Why are you here? My mind raced. The folder felt heavy in my hands, the papers inside rustling with the faint tremor of my fingers. I came to get my things, I lied. He glanced around the room, eyes cold. You shouldn't have come here, Lauren. This house doesn't belong to you anymore. I swallowed hard. No, it belongs to her, right? That made him smile, but not kindly. Let's not make this uglier than it already is. He walked closer, step by step, until he stood just a few feet away. The air felt thick. I could hear my own heartbeat. I saw you two at the luncheon, I said. Congratulations on the engagement. You always loved a good performance. He chuckled, low and cruel. You still think this is about love? I met his eyes. Then what is it about? He tilted his head, watching me like a puzzle he'd already solved. It's about survival, he said finally. You were never supposed to find out what I was doing, but since you have. He reached for the folder. I pulled it back instinctively. His voice dropped. Where did you get that? I said. She told me everything. For the first time, his composure cracked. His jaw tightened, his eyes flickered with something, fear. He exhaled slowly. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Oh, I think I do, I said. A liar, a thief, a man who'd rather destroy everything than take responsibility. He laughed again, but there was no humor in it. She's playing you, he said. She's been playing everyone. That money you think I stole? She moved it, she framed me, and if you're not careful, she'll frame you next. My stomach turned. You're lying. Am I? He pointed toward the folder. Check the dates, check the signatures. Half of those accounts are under her name, not mine. I hesitated, opening the folder again. He was right. Some of the documents did have her name. Others had both. It was impossible to tell who was the real culprit. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because, he said, stepping closer, you still matter to me, and if she goes down, she'll make sure you go down too. You're the perfect scapegoat, the loyal wife who suddenly files for divorce right before the investigation begins. The words hit me like a wave. Divorce, investigation, scapegoat. Pieces started to fall into place. He wasn't just trying to hurt me, he was trying to use me. So was she. I felt dizzy. My whole world was spinning between two liars, both manipulating me in different ways. He softened his tone. Give me the folder, Lauren. Let me fix this. I almost believed him. Almost. But then I saw something behind his charm. Calculation. The same cold control I'd seen on that stage when he humiliated me. No, I said firmly. I'll find the truth myself. His smile disappeared. That's a mistake. Before I could react, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. He glanced at the screen, and I caught a glimpse of the sender. Private client. The same name from the first email. He silenced it immediately, but I'd seen enough. That was the real twist. It wasn't her who'd been feeding me those messages. It was him. He had been the one sending the clues, controlling both sides of the story, pulling me wherever he wanted me to go. Until now. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Whatever game he was playing, I had just stepped right into the center of it. After that night at the lake house, I didn't go home right away. I drove until sunrise, letting the cold wind fill the silence he left behind. Every mile between me and that house felt like a breath I hadn't taken in years. Somewhere along the road, I made a decision. If both of them wanted to use me as a pawn, I'd learn how to play the game better than they ever could. The first step was disappearing. I took a week off work, turned off my phone, and moved into a small apartment across town under my maiden name. No one knew where I was, not even my mother. I needed quiet, distance, and time to rebuild. I cut my hair. Not a dramatic movie scene, just a clean, sharp line that made me look different enough to feel new. Then I started running again, eating properly, sleeping at night. My body had carried too much pain for too long. It was time to make it strong again. Every morning I studied the folder she'd given me, the accounts, the dates, the names. Then I compared them with what I'd found on his computer before. The patterns, the transfers, the fake charities his company donated to. Little by little, the puzzle came together. I realized something crucial. The money wasn't just disappearing. It was being redirected to shell companies linked to both of them. But one of those accounts had recently been accessed from a government IP address. Someone inside was watching them. That gave me an idea. I reached out to an old college friend, someone who now worked at the Department of Financial Crimes. Her name was Dana. We hadn't spoken in years, but when I told her I had evidence of corporate laundering, she agreed to meet. When she saw the folder, she looked at me like I was holding dynamite. "Lauren," she said carefully, "if this is real, your husband is facing prison time. But this also puts you in danger. Are you ready for that?" I nodded. I've been living in danger for years. I just didn't realize it. For the next few weeks, we worked in secret. Dana helped me organize everything. Emails, transfers, messages, timestamps. She taught me how to trace encrypted files, how to verify digital signatures, how to protect myself online. The more I learned, the stronger I felt. Each piece of truth I uncovered was like reclaiming a part of myself he'd stolen. One evening, I looked at my reflection in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She wasn't broken anymore. Her eyes were sharper, colder, her voice steady. That night, I made a list, not of revenge, but of closure. 3 names, his, hers, and mine. I circled all 3. The next morning, I went to the press. An investigative journalist owed Dana a favor, and he agreed to look into the evidence quietly. If the story went public, neither of them would have anywhere to hide. Before leaving, I stopped by my old house. The roses I'd planted were dying. The windows were dark. I stood at the gate for a long time, then whispered, "You took everything from me, now I'm taking it back." As I turned to go, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. The message read, "Tomorrow, 9 p.m., City Hall. The truth will be announced." No name, no explanation. But I didn't need one. I knew exactly what it meant. It was time for the final act. The next evening, the city glowed with rain. Streetlights blurred against the slick pavement as I stood across from City Hall, folder clutched to my chest. Inside, reporters and investors filled the marble hall for a press conference. The invitation had come from his company's PR team, the official announcement of their merger engagement. Perfect timing. I took a deep breath and walked in. The sound of cameras clicking echoed off the walls, and at the center of it all stood the 2 of them, my husband and the woman in white. They looked unstoppable, but I knew what was about to happen. Dana was already inside, blending in among the journalists. She gave me a small nod, and I felt a rush of calm. Everything was ready. The files had been sent to the authorities an hour ago. All that was left was the moment they didn't see coming. The CEO stepped up to the microphone. "Tonight," he began, "we celebrate a new era for Collins Enterprises." He didn't finish. A man in a gray suit approached the stage and whispered something in his ear. His face drained of color. Then chaos. 2 federal agents stepped forward, badges raised. They moved fast, one toward him, one toward her. The room filled with murmurs, cameras flashing faster now, hungry for scandal. Mr. Collins, one of the agents said, you're under arrest for corporate fraud and money laundering. He tried to keep his composure. There must be some mistake. But when they showed him the folder, my folder, he froze. His eyes darted across the crowd until they found me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he whispered my name, not loud, but broken, like he finally understood what he'd lost. The woman beside him turned pale. She tried to walk away, but another agent blocked her path. You're coming with us, Miss Reed, he said. We have your accounts, your emails, and your confession to the Department of Financial Crimes. Confession? She gasped. I didn't. Dana stepped forward, holding her phone. Actually, you did. You called me last night, remember? The color drained from her face completely. Reporters swarmed the stage, shouting questions, flashes exploding like lightning. I didn't stay to watch them being led away. I'd imagined this moment for weeks. Revenge, justice, satisfaction. But as the doors closed behind them, what I felt wasn't victory, it was peace. Outside, the rain had stopped. The city lights shimmered on puddles like fragments of a broken mirror. Dana joined me, smiling softly. It's over, I nodded. Not quite, but enough. A week later, the story was everywhere. Headlines, news broadcasts, endless commentary. Their empire collapsed overnight. His assets were seized, her accounts frozen. For the first time in years, my name wasn't tied to his anymore. I sold the house, donated half of what was left to the art center, and moved to a smaller home by the lake. Not the same one, a different one. Fresh air, quiet mornings, my own peace. Sometimes people ask if I ever forgave him. I don't think forgiveness is the right word. He taught me something I never would have learned otherwise, how to survive fire and come out made of steel. The last photo I printed for my studio wall was of me standing by the lake, sunlight on my face. No one else in the frame, no shadows behind me. I sent a copy to Dana with one line beneath it. After a night with his mistress, he said he'd never come home, and he never did. Then I smiled, closed my laptop, and walked outside, into a life that was finally mine again. A year has passed. The world feels slower now, softer. I wake up to the sound of water brushing against the lake, sunlight spilling through the curtains like a quiet promise. My mornings are simple. I make coffee, open the windows, and breathe. Sometimes I paint by the porch. Landscapes, children, faces that no longer carry pain. I call the little studio behind my house second chances. Kids from the community come every weekend, their laughter filling the air like music I didn't know I'd missed. I don't think about him much anymore. Not with anger, not even with sadness. He's somewhere facing the consequences of his choices. And for the first time, that thought doesn't hurt. Last week, I received a letter with no name, only a short message inside. Thank you for showing that starting over is possible. I smiled and pinned it to my wall, because maybe that's all any of us need. Proof that we can begin again. As the sun rises over the lake, I whisper quietly, forgiveness isn't about them. It's about freeing yourself. Then I dip my brush into gold paint and draw the first stroke of a new day. The water glitters, the sky opens wide, and for the first time in a long time, I'm truly home.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.